what's possible if anything's possible, truly.
Yeah.
I mean, what a question to ask yourself and to think about. Like, what is possible if anything's possible?
Yeah.
It's absolutely wild. I love what you're saying about vulnerability too. And I think that part of that translation as well, in terms of the competitive nature, this mental toughness is treating that like a muscle. That's a muscle that you strengthen, like any muscle in the gym. You're strengthening. You got to build out, you got to tear down the fibers so they can build back. It's painful, it's uncomfortable, but on the other side of that, you experience the growth.
Yeah.
So this is why cold immersion has been a life changer for me, and such a it's a relic for what that represents.
Yeah.
It's a training, it's a practice arena for what that represents. Getting into the cold, leaning into that vulnerability, into that conscious suffering, that hormetic stress. We know physiologically what that does for your body. It does all the most amazing things. We know how it lights up your dopamine, it lights up your adrenaline. Your body craves that push, craves that striving for something. So that's a lot of what we bring, and I think is important to bring towards the spiritual community as well, because that, like, the most spiritual moments I've had are when I'm in that outside of my comfort zone, in that edge. That's why we named it Edge Theory Labs. The whole thesis of edge theory is that greatness happens at the edge of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
That's how that's how you define. Those are the opportunities where you meet yourself, and those are the opportunities you get to define yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the magic.
That's the magic.
What's your intention for today?
My intention for today is to just have fun, truly.
Yeah.
Like, to just enjoy this connection and have fun exploring what's beneath the surface and what's there, and to share what we've lived and what I've lived as a reference point for other people to be able to shed some light on what might be possible. So to explore the possibility of what's possible if anything's possible.
I love that.
Yeah.
What about you?
My intention would be to learn, because I think I'm here with two of the best to learn from, inspire, and give people some permission, give people some different perspectives, hopefully, and take away some different perspectives myself. Yeah. And just have fun with you two, like, and laugh and joke, and, like,
we were talking.
We're good at that.
We are. We were talking on the way over here, though, of just like, one thing that him and I have done really well for the last decade of our lives since we met is dream. Like, we have been dreaming big, and right now it's wild, and we'll dive into this, I'm sure, but like, we're living the dream that we had when we were kids living in a fraternity house in college. Like, we're actually living the dream, and it's even better. And now it's fun to see like what we're dreaming now at this next level of like the next 10 years. Yeah. And then thinking about, well, in 10 years from now, what are the next level dreams going to be?
Yeah.
So like, I like to say we're professional dreamers. We're also
I love
doers,
that.
but we're professional dreamers for sure.
I think that's a lost art. How do you keep that alive? Really? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of people lose that.
Yeah.
They don't think it's realistic. You guys, you keep, I mean, that's really the divine child within, right?
Yeah.
Keep that alive. So how do you do that?
Each other, like, and being around people, because I always love the line, don't quit your daydream. And I love that as a way of, like, visualization can feel heavy, but it's like, no, daydream. Like, just, it feels lighter and more playful, of like, just daydream, let your mind wander to what you want to experience and explore. And I think that it takes a team, it takes a squad to be able to amplify that dream and to like keep you and remind you of your dream when you're having your nightmare. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going through the dark.
Yeah. Seriously, we're actually we daydream heavy. Like, we daydream, and we speak to God in public, and we daydream in public, and we are not afraid to like dream something that is so outrageous that like a man's reach out should always exceed his grasp, right? But like, we'll dream big. Like, we're like so big that like other people wouldn't think it was possible, but then like, you know, we end up here or doing like 10 years ago we didn't think we couldn't see how we'd get here. So at this point, like, the proof is a little bit in the pudding for us. Like, we trust ourselves. You start to like trust your dreams. Like, you start to earn the ability to like trust how far you could dream. And it takes a team. It takes people that like want to dream with you, that you could dream with, and on the days like you are feeling in that nightmare and that dream is a little bit harder to see, the guy next to you, the gal next to you is still dreaming on that level. You know, it's a team thing for sure.
So let's like walk through this because I
Yeah.
mean, I know you guys, but they don't yet.
Yet. You will.
Your dynamic. So you guys meet 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what was your experience meeting each other? Like, I actually want to go to the moment
I
vibrationally.
remember.
Yeah.
Tell
I
me
remember
about
too.
it.
Yeah. So
How do you know?
Yeah, exactly. My dad's gonna have a field day with this one. So we pledged the same fraternity, and the way that we got to that fraternity was a wild backstory as well. But so I remember meeting. I was definitely drunk. He was probably drunk too. But I remember at the basement of
Beautiful drunken moments.
beautiful drunken college moments, right? So freshman in college, and we had just pledged the same fraternity, and I remember like seeing this guy that's like standing up on the sofa, like just standing on the sofa at his house party, and he has a Jewish star necklace on. And I'm like, no way. I'm wearing Oxford, Ohio. I'm like, there was one other Jewish person I'd met. There's not a lot of Jews at that school. And so I'm like, oh my God, this guy's Jewish. No way. So I go up and I'm like, yo, like, are you Jewish? And he's like, yeah, man, like, what's up? And he was so energetic that I actually thought that he was like mocking me. Or like, I was like, wait, is this guy like, is he bullshitting me right now? You know what I mean? Like, he was like, his smile was huge and his energy was just like so high that I'm like, is he messing with me? And he's like, I'm Chad, nice to meet you. And we started talking. I very quickly realized like, no, this dude's just like different, you know, like he's just on that level. And we became pretty tight right then and there.
Yeah, pretty. Yeah. Right then and there.
I don't know,
Bro, I remember that because on the other side, like this kid comes up to me, he sees my Jewish star. He introduces himself as Josh Church. So I thought he was messing with me. I was like, no, you're screwing me. Like, you're not Jewish. And like, definitely not to the level like of what you like your fam. Like so I thought he was messing with me too. And in that moment, like I honestly remember the shirt you were wearing. It was like a green like shirt because you always used to wear the green shirt with like the vest.
Yeah.
And like there was definitely, it's so funny because that exact moment, like I can remember in my head, like there was it was vibrationally like
straight up. Well, and the funny part too was that, you know, we learned later by his ex-girlfriend made a connection later that I posted, remember Throwback Thursdays on Instagram? We posted TBT, Throwback Thursday. You know, I loved a good TBT. So I threw up a TBT of me when I was younger, and I was at a ballet recital because I did ballet when I was younger. Pretty baller, if you ask me. I was actually better than my sister. My sister quit because I was ballet. So. But so there's a photo of me, my sister, our cousin, and then when I used to live in Cleveland, because I lived in Cleveland when I was younger, and then just some other random girl. And I posted it, and his ex-girlfriend was like, oh my God, do you know who that is? Like, this is Jess Garson, like a girl that we go to school with. Her younger brother's in our fraternity. I'm like, what? Yeah. So I made this small world connection, and it turns out that picture was taken at the same school that Chad grew up going to. Wow. So when we were younger, his high school, like we actually traced it back, and we went to the same day camp in Cleveland, Ohio.
Wow.
Like our paths were meant to, it was like,
and I like to believe that like young Chad and young Josh like definitely interacted. In Cleveland before my family moved out.
Totally. Yeah. I probably got him out of like dodgeball or something.
I love that. Invisible string theory. Like this keeps popping up. I feel like I've been talking about this so much recently, but it's like you had to meet at some point. So the universe is going to facilitate it one way or the other.
It really does feel like that when I look back. Like it really does feel
it's true. I'll tell you because I've been into your fields.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, like this is a deep soul connection.
Probably goes back lifetimes. And I also like to think it might have been something that you shared with me at one point, but I always like to think like for me in my life, I'm just so humbled that all of the most amazing connections or relationships that have come to be, whether they were, you know, best friend level, whether it was business, relationship, like it's all come, like I couldn't have missed it if I tried to. And like what's meant for you, you cannot miss.
100%.
And so, but for whatever reason, when it comes to romantic relationships, it feels like there's a block there almost sometimes. But remembering, I think it might have been a conversation you said of like, it's no different. Like, it's no different. Of course, especially with a person that's going to be your life partner and you're going to have children with and bring a next generation into the world with, like, of course, like you're not going to miss each other. And that gives me a lot of confidence and faith of looking, it's like, oh yeah, like how you can't miss what's meant for you.
100%. I think that a lot of people can relate to it feeling like, why does it feel harder over here?
Right.
And I think it's because romantic relationships, that's the area people try the hardest, right? You're not like trying really hard or overly attached to, I need a new bestie. I need a new friend. It's like, even with business and hiring, you're not like overly attached, you know, or you're not, there's so much just more attachment to it and energy around it. And I've got to try and I'm worried about it. And in other areas of our lives, we're just kind of bopping along and seeing who shows up. It's like, cool. And romantic relationships, people are looking. They're looking. So,
and it's so weird in like society today too. It's like with all these dating apps and with all these like literally different dating apps left and right. It's like, it feels like you're supposed to try, like or put a lot of effort there. So I always kind of ask myself like how much effort, obviously like you want to take people out on dates and like meet people, but like how much effort is the right amount of effort to put there, right? Like you know,
that's the question. I mean, I think it depends on the person. If you want to talk about it, like you got to put some effort into it, you know, but like I think you still shouldn't force things, you know, and like people with friends, it's like, oh, I have a mutual friend. Do you want to connect or do you want to come to this party with me? Like people meet each other organically, and with dating, people are so, I don't know, kind of robotic about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. People don't follow their intuition as much when they should.
It so connects to what we started this conversation talking about, which is like the difference between like daydreaming versus like visualization or manifestation of like trying to manipulate something or trying to make something fit versus just being open and showing up and saying yes to how that unfolds. It's like it's the same. It's been the same in all my relationships. Dancing with the unfolding in front of you, right? Like you can't beat it. Like manifestation is not beating something over a head with a stick until you get it. It's that dance with like what's unfolding in front of you and like playing to your strengths and to your cards and being at a vibrational level of what you want to attract.
100%. So that's the dating approach. I think as we unpack your story, you'll get some dating answers.
Great.
You'll answer your own question.
Yeah. I mean, he remembers what I was wearing when we first met.
I mean, that'll tell you something, you know? I want to go back to that point though, because there's so much in that journey to getting here, you know, and I want to hear about when you were younger and daydreaming, like what really was the dream? Like what did that look like?
Yeah, I can speak for myself on this. So I would say it was after freshman year, coming back from freshman year of college, and meeting Chad, joining fraternity. Like it was all kind of up to that point in life was just kind of pretty much just following the path, right? And then I remember early sophomore year, Chad and I were living together in the fraternity house, and I personally remember this thing called job fair. And job fair was the moment where everybody dusted off the suits at the back of their closet and polished up their resumes and went to go to the, you know, to the big arena to go schmooze with the different people. And this was the path. It was like, all right, cool. I'm going to get an internship this summer, and then I'm going to get invited back for next summer, and then I'm going to get a job offer, and then I'm going to climb the corporate ladder and retire when I'm 65 to be too tired and sick to be able to do anything in my life.
I remember that too.
Right? It's like, boom. And for me, that was the first point that I saw that, and I was like, I don't want to do that. And because I didn't participate, it was as if I was telling everybody, like, I want to be unemployed. And everybody was just like, oh my God, you're not going to go to the job fair. You're not gonna. I'm like, no, I don't know what I want, but I know that it's not that. It's not following the herd doing that. And Chad and I really related on that vibe of like, we don't know, especially at the time as living together, we didn't know what we wanted to do, but we knew we wanted to do something extraordinary, something different, something meaningful. And we wanted to live a great life and do something different. And we believed that we were special. And again, at that time, clarity started coming as the days and months went on around what that looks like. But we just knew that, like, didn't know exactly what, but there was something out there for us, and we were going to just hold on to that.
Yeah. I mean, you nailed it. And since the day I can remember, like, I think we're all special. I think every single human has it in us. Like, we're all special. We're all here on purpose. We all have something to fulfill. But like, I remember being a kid, and since I can remember, it's like, I'm going to be an NFL star. Like, I'm going to be a pro football player. And I still believe I'm going to be a pro football player in another way. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, that type of greatness, like a pro football player is like 101, right? They're elite. Like, if you're in the National Football League, like, you're one of a very small percentage, right? And so, like, I've still attacked and dreamed every day that, like, I'm going to be at that level of, like, I'm a small percentage. Like, Herb Brooks has this amazing quote, and we say it all the time, is like, you must be uncommon. Like we want, I didn't want to fit in. I didn't want to follow the herd to the job fair. Also, like, wasn't prepared for the job fair, but like
on purpose.
Yeah. But like I just felt uncommon. Like I don't want to fit in. Like I have red hair. My name's Chad, and like I'm different.
Yeah.
You know. And I think like at that age, like dreaming that big at such a young age, also like I think one thing that like we instantly hit off was like our ability to dream. It was like I met this kid that like he wanted to be great. Like Josh was different in college. Like I'm from Ohio, I'm from Cleveland, but in college Josh was different. Like there was nobody else journaling. I'd never seen another guy, like a guy journal. Like none of my friends journal, and like this dude was journaling and just
Dear
like
diary.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And he would bring it back, and like, you know, we had an amazing college experience, but we would always like walk around campus and kind of joke like, who's got a better college experience than us? Like truly, who has a better? Maybe the starting quarterback for Ohio State is what we would say, but like besides that, who has a better college experience? And like that was such a unique perspective at that time to like realize that at 19 years old for this kid to be saying to me like, and it made me think like, holy shit, like who does have it better than us? So Josh really shared such a brilliant and spiritual and like unique perspective on the world that like I had never seen before.
And we kept on that together, and then that started to spread throughout our, like, people would come down to our room in the fraternity house to like catch that vibe, and that's how we knew there was something special here, because people literally after a stressful day, they would like come knock on our door and they'd like sit on our couch just to like be around our energy because it was contagious, and it was like they wanted that inspiration. So we realized from that as well very early on that like, especially together, we had a way of lighting people up and seeing the best in people and lifting their spirits, inspiring them, and sharing some of these perspectives that we were learning.
I'm just thinking it's very Yeshua.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, I can't get out of my head. It is. It's very like people flocking to your magnetism, you know?
Yeah.
Like really.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, you guys have known each other for a long time. I would love for each of you to share like what you think the other's biggest strength is and what makes them so magnetic.
Easy. I'll go first. So, I mean, we like to joke at Edge 3 Labs that Chad's our in-house Energizer bunny.
Yeah.
Right? And living with him, he is. And living with him, like, for so many years, because we lived together for many years outside after college as well. Like, the kid wakes up like this. I'm not kidding. It's not like he wakes up slow and needs to kind of get his coffee and then he gets up to his level. Like, he wakes up like this. One time in the middle of the night, a fire alarm went off, and by the time I was able to open my eyes and turn around, he had jumped out of bed and his sneakers were on. I'm not even kidding. Like he was like, boom. Like, you know, like this is the kid you want in your foxhole. You know what I'm saying? Like when the aliens come, you're like, this is the kid you want around, the Louisville Slugger. So like he's on that energetic level. But with Chad, it's something really interesting. And I tell him this all the time too, but when he's talking and when he's like in this flow and sharing, people smile. Like when he's talking in our team meetings, Ty Nelly knows this. When he's talking in our team meetings, like I just observe and he's talking, he's inspiring. Like everybody's just naturally smiling and laughing. It's like, that is a superpower. Yeah. It's contagious. His energy, his smile, his presence, when he walks in a room and lights it up, you're like, that's contagious. And the other part of his superpower, I would say, is his ability to make you feel like a best friend. Like there's so many people that call Chad his best friend and like that view Chad as his best friend. So he has that level of intimacy with people where people will open up, they'll tell him stuff, and he can be felt like their absolute best friend in the world. I'm lucky though, because
I'm actually
exactly. But that's an absolute superpower, I would say. And people are drawn into that, of someone that like exudes that that Energizer bunny, like you know, absolute. I want to say golden retriever energy in a way, but the depth that Chad brings to it as well on the other side is that like he's an elite athlete, like a high performer, like ridiculously shredded. He's an elite athlete at that level too. So it's like golden retriever energy, but also tiger energy. If that makes sense. And there's something about that that's magnetizing too, of just like, dang, this dude's disciplined and he's like body morphing over here and his biceps are like the size of a watermelon. So like, that's crazy. And I'm interested in learning more about that.
God damn, that was a nice thing.
I love that. Yeah.
And like for Josh, like all those things he said about me, like I had never like maybe my mom and dad said that about me, but like I never had a friend like really like see that in me like that. Like I remember being in the fraternity and Josh like hearing me talk to the whole fraternity, and right after he came up to me, he's like, "Did you see that, bro? Like, did you feel how everyone was looking at you and smiling at you and like listening when you were talking? Like that's a power." I never had a best friend like see that in me, like notice that and like give me that type of like positive feedback and like push me to step more into that. And that's what he did. Like you'll ask anyone from college or cousins, whatever, like camp counselor Josh. Like Josh is a leader. Yeah. Like Josh is a true, authentic, natural leader. Like a lion. Like he's the king of the jungle in that way. Like he's a leader as in he goes first. Like if we're playing basketball and like we need another guy, it's like, oh, Josh will go do it. And all the way to like business, he's a leader. He knows how to he could tap on you and light you up, see what your skills are, like help you get to where you want to go. Like if you're looking for clarity, Josh can give it to you. Like he's a leader. He puts people in positions to win, and he shows people what their superpowers are when they might not see it themselves. And I've seen it time again and again and again. Like that's why there's so many of us out in California now because of him. Like, right? Like following you. because he sees he's a leader and like he knows where to put people, and he knows how to light up people's superpowers within themselves. And it's unbelievably powerful. And Tynelli could also, I guarantee, confirm that in like our team, like in our current team and our fraternity brothers. Like people are coming to the room like, cause I'm gonna hype you up and energize you, and then Josh is gonna give you tangible ways. They're like, here's what you need. You know what I'm saying? Like real life leader. And we always would say camp counselor Josh, because like when Josh is there, like we're good. We're like, oh, I could breathe. Like someone's in charge almost, you know, like someone's got this. And that's this presence, and that's this energy that Josh carries with him, is like, we're good. We're going to be okay. Like follow this man. Like he'll you know? And it's so powerful. It's so dope.
That's beautiful. Well, you guys are both leaders, you know, you lead in different ways. And I think the beautiful thing about that is it's just highlighting who am I naturally and how do I lean into my strengths, and I can apply those strengths to whatever I'm doing. And so that's kind of when we're painting this picture of how did you get to where you're at now. You know, I'm asking these questions wondering how specific were you? You know, and what would it have looked like had you been more specific and gone in a different direction? Because the thing is, to me, not sorry. Like it's not about the tub, right? It's like, it could have been any vessel, but it was you guys going full send into like, these are my gifts. This is how I lead, and having the right people around me, you know, and it's that power of being seen that you're talking about. You know, it's like we all have these innate gifts. We don't always recognize that about ourselves because just who we are. So we think it's normal. And the second somebody just points that out to you, it's like, whoa, I could really lean into this, and I can apply this to any dream I have in my life. And I think that's really, you know, a big piece of how you guys have gotten to where you're at. It's like leaning into that and applying it whichever way you want.
It's so true. And to the point of specificity, it's just wild when we look back and think about, because we would talk about, you know, Chad, he just shared, I want to be an NFL athlete. And then once he realized that, the path towards that was maybe not, he was going to be an NFL athlete in a different way, right? And maybe not on the field. Then he started thinking about like sports and being a sports agent, working with athletes, something in that realm. I got deep into entrepreneurship after working at a startup company in San Francisco and being like, and being introduced to Tony Robbins, like literally meeting Tony Robbins and being like, wow, all these people, like they're real people as well. And they've gotten here, like I can do this too. And seeing like, okay, cool, there's a path for me somewhere here. And then fast forward to today, I think it was, I mean, we pinch ourselves all the time, but it was probably a year ago when we got invited to go out to the NBA Trainers Association vendor show. So we're in front of all of the NBA teams and coaches and training staff, and we're showcasing our product. And we're shaking hands and meeting people that we've looked up to for so long, like head coach over here, you know, head athletic trainer here. And now we're working with them. And Chad is literally like working with these athletes. Like we just went the other day to the LA Rams facility, and we're like, we're on campus with the LA Rams showing the tub. It's like in a business that I started that we're doing, like we're literally living that dream and getting to do it together. Cause we talked all about finding a way to do something together in this way would be the ultimate dream.
And Josh's, that's like that's something we play with so much. Like you'll literally, I'll never forget when the Jonas Brothers came to when the Jonas Brothers came, or it was like one of the Jonas Brothers came to like Miami of Ohio, right? And like they took the stage, and everyone's at the bar, but right before they took the stage, you know, they announce it, and all of a sudden everyone sprints over to the stage, and me and Josh kind of look at each other like, what? Like, it's the jump, like whatever, dude. Like, but it was kind of like in that moment where we were like, no, like we're also great. We didn't get, we in the eyes of like greatness, we thought we were just as great. Like they're just people. And like, we've had this feeling that like, we're here to do something great, bigger than us. Like it's actually not about us at all. Yeah. Like we are living our dream for sure, but it's like, it's not about us. It's not for us. Like, in a way.
Yeah.
It is. It's so true. It's so true. And the thing that's really the funny full circle moment as well is that the Jonas Brothers ended up getting a tub.
Yeah, they did. Shout out to you guys.
Which I didn't make that connection till later. Yeah, but I think what's interesting about that, and I'm relaying this now, is that most people, like when we see people out there doing something tremendous, we put them up on a pedestal. And typically, in my experience, I found that's because we view them as having something that we don't have. Yeah. And once we can see, okay, I acknowledge what they have, and I can look for that within myself, then you stop viewing and putting someone up on a pedestal, and you start to view them as peers in a way, right? And of course, like they've achieved tremendous things, like incredible things.
Huge fans.
Love the Joe Bros. Seriously. But it was us at that moment realizing, like, yeah, as everybody's flocking to like this greatness of them, it's like, no, we recognize that in ourselves too, and so we're not going to just like flock and like and you know, get on our knees looking up to them.
Exactly.
I think that's so key, and I'm kind of putting together something in my head as you're saying that, because my point with this is for people to reperceive how they, well, I guess think about why they resonate with things a little bit differently. And so as you're talking, I'm thinking about when I was in college and in my kind of formation years, and I was lucky enough to be in a lot of situations where I met a lot of celebrities. And that for me made me realize these are just people.
Right.
And I was, with what I was doing for work, I was interacting with these celebrities like every single day and realizing they're just people. And I started to have resonance with certain people I would see who I loved their work. I listened to their podcasts. I watched them on TV. And my thought was, I'm going to work with them. I'm going to have them on my podcast. It wasn't, oh, wow, like putting you on a pedestal. I'm like, I have a resonance because you're supposed to be in my life in some way. And it's been so cool because I always think about this, and I was thinking about this again, like last week. I had one of those days where I'm catching up with a bunch of my friends, and I looked at my, my call list, and I was like, these are all people I remember when I was 19. I was watching them on a screen, like loving their work. And now like, I'm calling them, we're planning trips to hang out, and like they're calling me for advice, you know. And I think a lot of these people who, you know, I like now they're clients or they're friends, and I really do think it was all in how I perceived that resonance I had. It's not like, oh, I just love their work. It's like we're supposed to be in each other's lives. And a lot of people don't think about it that way. And when they don't think about it that way, they take what actually is their dream and turn it into like, I guess like a dream, like, oh, maybe someday, instead of no, this is my manifestation path, you know, because I have like learned over the years, like I see someone I resonate, I'm like, oh, we're either gonna be friends or gonna work with me.
Same.
And you gotta trust that. You gotta trust that.
There's literally, and that's probably been one of the coolest parts about this business is it's been the vehicle to see that come to fruition, because I mean, there's so many, similarly to you, it's like there's so many people, and one person in particular, literally just on Friday, that is now going to, I'm going to leave his name anonymous for right now, but is going to be investing into our company and collaborating on a big project with us. And this is someone that I literally in high school, I grew up like listening to and watching and like knowing one day, like maybe like we're going to cross paths and like there's gonna be something here. And like, we've become friends, and he's now investing into our business. Like, how crazy. And there's like so many different examples of that. And that's the cool part about this business is one of the amazing lessons that this business has shown me is just how possible that is, especially in how short of a time that can happen.
What I was going to say, how quickly that manifested. Like, because like me, like we always say, like, I thought about my future and I want it now. Like, and that you manifested that, like that happened quickly. Like,
well, you guys are both you're fast manifestors. Why do you think that is?
Social contracts, the people around us, social contracts, faith in God.
Yeah.
I would probably say it's because I would say that I can be perceived as manifesting things quickly because I delegate the heavy lifting to God and to the universe. And what I mean by that is that I focus on my part, and then I trust that the cooperative components will unfold in front of me, and I just take that next step. And I think most importantly, I'm more attached to the function than the form. So I'm focused on the function of what this will bring or what the purpose of this is, and open to whatever form that can take in whatever shape that takes. Like I'm less attached to the form. I think so many people, when they're trying to manifest something, they're just focused on the form. I want it to look exactly like this. And yeah, you can focus on that, but what if the reality is far greater than that? What if it's even bigger than you can imagine, but you have your blinders on towards this thing? So I think it's this combination of being focused on the function and being open to surprise and delighted of like, what's the house special? Like what's God got for me here this time, and being open to receiving that while continuously taking steps in that direction.
Well, the thing is, you are both expecting it to happen.
Inevitability.
And it's not the why me, it's why not me.
Yeah.
And I'm same.
Yeah. Why not us? Like, why not? Like, seriously, why not?
Exactly. And I'm curious, have you always been like that, or what got you there?
For me personally,
yeah, it's a good question.
That was a great question. And for me personally, I'm a competitor first.
No.
Or I was. Like the type where like if other people thought this guy was the best, then like I wanted to be on the field or on the ice going against this guy every time, anytime, because I felt like why like I believed in what I had. I felt more than anybody else believed in what they had. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what by being a competitor, by iron sharpening iron, I learned that like very quickly I was never really competing with anyone else. I was always competing with myself and becoming the best version of me. So, to answer your question, why? Wait, can you repeat your question again one more time? Like,
have you always been of the mindset, why not me? Like, I'm expecting this to happen the way I want.
So it always felt like I could play at this level. I could perform at this level. Like God gave me these gifts. So like this why not me mentality, why not us mentality was just like engraved into it. Engraved into it. Like I demanded greatness.
So it's always been like that, like since you were young?
Since I can remember. Yeah. I demanded.
Do you think
greatness.
That's inherent, or do you think that was something learned? Or both?
Good question.
That's a great
question. I know Chad's family well. He knows my family well, and we were blessed to be raised by good parents and a great upbringing, and in the Jewish faith as well that taught us this from an early age. So I think that a lot of people don't have that fortune to have parents telling you, yes, things will work out. Yes, have faith. Yes, you are special, right? Most people actually have the opposite of that. And that just makes their story that much better when they can overcome that, because they have something that we can't in that regard of overcoming like certain upbringings. We all are dealt the certain cards that we have. But I would say for me, that was always there and nurtured. But then that belief solidifies when you face those challenge moments, because I feel like you have to come against those moments to make you question that. Like, really? Like, am I special? Like, can I do this? Will this work out for me? Like, why me to like, why not me? Right. And for me, that happened early on through health challenges. We talked about this when I was on your podcast ages ago. And that was the first time I was really tested of being like, this is challenging and this feels like there's no way through this and things are not working out for me. And my future is really, really grim and I'm never going to be experiencing health and vitality. And that forced me to like really question that. But through the process of that and expanding the time horizon to zoom out and see how that actually helped form and sharpen that belief of, oh yeah, cool, I made it through that thing and things worked out. Well, maybe this next thing I'm going through, things may work out. And then guess what? I make it through that thing. Oh, cool. Now all of a sudden I start to build this case of evidence to support that belief. So I feel like there's this innate, I think that all of humans have this innate, like we are unique. We all have, there's nobody that has the same thumbprint as you. How wild is that? That intelligent design. There's no two you. Even if you're an identical twin, like you are special, quite literally. You are special and unique. So I think there is that innate thing and we want it. And there's a reason why that feels good and we want to hold on to it. But now we have these words and society that tries to like mute that, because that's scary. That's risky. If you want to hold on to that, you expose yourself to failure, quote unquote. That's scary. That's taking a step off the beaten path. So
it's scary to not, though. You know,
I agree with you. I agree. That's scarier.
That's the thing. I was, stalking y'all earlier in prep, and I don't remember what the quote is. You can give it to me. You did a podcast about some quote. It was like something about like the scariest thing would be to me. You know what I'm talking about?
Definition of hell is meeting the person you could have become.
Yeah, and I was like, damn, that is good. Like that's my. When people ask me like my biggest fear, I'm always like settling, like my unintentional, because I would never unintentionally settling and like being like, oh shit, I can't believe I was in that situation. I didn't realize I was not living my greatness. Like that's to me, that's a lot scarier than trying and falling on my face.
Right.
to be honest.
Yep. And I think that anybody listening probably feels that as well and wants to feel that and wants to believe that and to know that it's possible and to know that, you will fall on your face. Yeah. But that's okay, because that's going to help you to the next level. Like it's just evolving.
It's all about how quick you get back up. You start to learn that like you fall and like you might just get a scratch. You earn the ability to trust yourself by doing the hard things. Like you earn the ability when you fail and fail and fail, which is so important to just fail fast, fail often. When you fail and fail, you learn that like, wait, I landed on my feet. I'm okay. This actually worked out better than I had if I, you know what I mean? Like you earn that ability to trust yourself, that you know you're going to figure it out. You know, that's resilience. That's mental toughness too. But Winston Churchill says like, what is success? Going from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. So like the baseline to me is like fail fast, fail often, but feel good. But make sure you feel good, because like in those moments are where it's born, where everything.
I love that. I wanted to ask you guys about this. I want to talk about concepts like being competitive and mental toughness. And I feel like these are concepts that don't have much airtime in the spirituality space. And I feel like as somebody who talks a lot about manifestation and energetics, like these are things that are important to me. And I feel like it's like that part that's silenced a lot, or that part that's like, no, it's too masculine. And I'm like, well, we need our masculine though. And I think when I come back to when I reverse engineer, how have I done what I've done? I'm like, I am very mentally, I'm tough. Like I'm strong, like I'm scrappy.
Damn
I'm scrappy, right? And it's like, I'm very proud of those things. And I think in the spirituality space, there's been such this push around like just flow and no effort and think a positive thought. It's like, it's just a very different energy, you know? And so I want you guys to speak to like, how how that mental toughness and competition, like how can this all live together?
Thought you'd never ask. We talk about this. We talk about this all the time. Truly, because to me that is like some of the most spiritual practice, and I think it is important, like you were saying, understanding your masculine and your feminine. This was a concept that really changed my perspective and outlook on life and self growth and self discovery and self expansion. Is okay, cool. We have these two energies at play. There's the divine masculine, the go, the do things, the compete, and then there's the divine feminine, the nurture, the receive, the allow. And for me, I had realized that I'm very strong in my masculine naturally. Like naturally, I tend to be more in my masculine. And as I started to learn that and realize, oh, there's this whole other side of me here to focus on cultivating more of a flow and letting go and surrendering and being in that creativity, that was important for me to focus on so that I could begin to balance both those out and get even more from them. So I think that a lot of people, and in the spiritual world, you're right. It's like, it's either, you're either getting the straight masculine or the straight feminine, and they can exist in balance. And they're two wings of an airplane. They need to exist in balance because it's two wings of an airplane. It's not like one or the other, like this one's better than this one. Two wings of the airplane. Just like when you're flying an airplane, sometimes you need to bank right. Sometimes you need to bank left. So you got to focus a little bit more on certain areas of your life. And I'm constantly in that balance. Like, and I notice based on the music that I'll listen to as well. Like I've got my devotional playlist, which is just like mantra music. It's just like kirtan. It's just
that heart
just affirmation. And I'm like, oh, just like I listen mostly towards just like this beautiful divine feminine music, because that just like reminds me. But then sometimes I'll switch gears, and then I've got my J. Cole, my Nipsey Hussle, my Big Sean, and like and I'm bumping, and it's like, you know, what you need. So I think first, before diving in and exploring answering your question, just important to set the stage of just acknowledging in the first place that both of these are present, and understand where you are naturally leading towards, and then explore with, okay, if I naturally lead towards this, like what might it look like to cultivate more of this in my life, or the opposite. So it deserves its seat at the table. The two wings of the airplane.
Beautifully said. And it's so, I was, playing sports my whole life, like that being such an identity for me for early part. My instincts were completely divine masculine, right? Like mental toughness, resilience, like I could carry it, pound, work harder. That like when I first started learning about like this, like when I started opening up in my spirituality and learning more about the divine feminine and just like spirituality in general, like Abraham Hicks, like downstream and just like feeling good, and like I was like, whoa, like what a relief. Like you get, so it's like you do need both. It's that it's both sides of the airplane. But I feel like it gave me such a so to me, mental toughness is honestly crucial. Mental toughness to me is like, not every moment am I super happy or super excited, but like I know that like I'm mentally tough enough, like I'll find a way today. If I'm not there right now, like I'll find a way, I'll get there. Mental toughness is like resilience, and like I trust myself and how I can respond. It's to me, mental toughness is Josh mentioned like when I wake up and I'm just up, like I wake up and I set the tone. Like I wake up and I set the tone for the day. Like
thermostat.
Exactly. Thermostat. And like by getting in the cold tub or breathing, journaling, and then going to the gym. Like I'm setting the tone, and then from there, the rest of this day is just downstream. Like I could just flow from there. So to answer your question about mental toughness is like, I think at the end of the day, like mental toughness is understanding like I'm going to find a way. I'm going to land on my feet. No matter what, I'll pick myself up. No matter what, I'm going to find a way. No matter what, I'm going to get there. And that's what mental toughness is. Now, once you pair that with like the other balance of the divine feminine and flow and like vibration and everything else you'd identify there, you could find a place where like you could fly. Like two wings of the plane, you could fly from there. And that's been understanding that and learning that and practicing it, because it's an everyday practice, will take you to places that you didn't even know you could reach. Into connections and people you didn't even know you could meet.
And in the spiritual space, like it feels like there is kind of like the dampening of this of like, okay, toxic masculinity, that's right. Like you throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's like, if you're neglecting that, if you're neglecting the divine masculine within yourself and the competition, the inner competitiveness, the mental toughness, like Chad's talking about, then you're neglecting half of yourself.
Yeah.
You're neglecting the whole of who you are.
Yeah.
And for me, it's such a spiritual practice as well, because like when we play basketball, like it's such a critical part of my week to get on that court and play basketball for so many different reasons, but for being with the guys, for tapping into that gear, because you realize too, like Chad said, it's like iron sharpens iron, and you get better through that way, and you get to know yourself intimately well through challenging yourself. That's how you know yourself. Like you need to be a little psycho.
Who
sometimes.
Are you in those moments when the pressure's on, when the game is tied, when somebody is demanding the most out of you because they're going against you? Like those are the moments where you learn everything there is to know about yourself. Are you gonna quit?
Yeah.
Are you gonna quit? Are you soft? Are you scared?
Yeah.
Or do you rise to the occasion? Like rise to the occasion and be like, oh, 4th and 1, give me the ball. Give me the ball. And like that becomes what you feel in life, right? Like like Q1's about to end. Last quarter of the month. Give me the phone. Like let me sell the, you know, like, and I think you need to find that competitive edge, that understanding, like, do you sink or swim? Like that's why I love the cool talk. Like, do you sink or swim and break? Like life is not this like, no, I don't have bad days. I don't think we have bad days. We have I have bad moments, but like I trust myself. I'm resilient enough to like I won't have a bad day. But it's like you need to have if you could conquer, like as somebody that had so much of that divine masculine, if you will, like that competitive edge, that toughness, that grit. That will only get you so far because you need that other half too. But if you're someone that has so much of like the divine feminine and this softness and this you need to find that competitiveness, that grit, because it's that life's the ultimate paradox, right? It's like it's a balance. You need both.
And I found myself really starting to draw in those types of people. Like in my path of going down, you know, divine masculine and going deep into the startup world, I was deep into the like sleep is for suckers, grind at all costs. There's time to sleep when you're dead, you know, go, right? You know, that mentality, that like that absolute just go getter. And then I kind of swung the pendulum on the other side of the extreme. I went to Mount Shasta, did a meditation retreat. I became best friends with hippies that live in their vans, right? And are just all about this fulfillment and this creativity, which was amazing. But I saw from both ends, like I had friends on Wall Street working, you know, 80 hours a week, doing cocaine at lunch. And then I had friends over here living in their van and writing music and seeing both the shortfalls of like, you can't have both. There's this Tony Robbins says there's a science of achievement, there's the science of achieving, but then there's this art of fulfillment. And it's about balancing these both. And that's what I refer to as the others out there. My podcast called Find the Others that are the high performing hippies, if you will, like being able to merge the both and explore where you're at in terms of both and what you need. So, but it is so critical to have that, because that's where you learn who you are. Like Chad said, when you're summiting the mountain, when you're doing a race, when you're pushing yourself, and it doesn't always have to be physically. Like we talk a lot about physically, but it's like in those moments, it's cultivating that ability to set your boundaries, or to be honest in a conversation, to like, you know, take a deep breath and knock on the door of your boss and go have that tough conversation, or with your partner. Like that's part of it.
Vulnerability.
That's what it is.
And it's funny now that I'm kind of thinking about this, because we were both athletes that were also both in theater. Like
it's true.
And
what was your theater song? What was it? No
one's gonna harm you. Don't make me dance.
What was that production?
It was Sweeney Todd.
Chad was in Sweeney Todd. I was in Wizard of Oz.
Oh man.
But it's like it's you know, there's a vulnerability, like you like huge proponent of vulnerability. Like I think vulnerability is where the growth is.
What does that mean to you, though, to find that?
Vulnerability is being a little bit afraid or a little bit nervous or a little bit scared and doing it anyway and being brave enough to do it anyway. And that place of the beyond of being scared but being brave enough to do it anyway, that's the catalyst for the biggest growth you could possibly embark on.
And Sherry, I think your experience with when you were working at Bird Scooters was like such a it was really cool because we would talk about these concepts and I would learn these concepts, especially when I was in the coaching space, and then I would bring it home to my roommates and we would do goal setting workshops, and we would take this and experiment with it in real life. And Chad was like always the champion of this, and he always just put it into practice in such a big way. And I remember you did that at Bird. You showed up at the startup company that you were at, and you just within a very short period of time, you moved so quickly and you became so well known there because you were willing to lean into that. Like I remember you being like, yeah, like I literally like put my hand in my pocket, grabbed my balls and knocked on the door of the CEO to go introduce myself and say, hey, I'm Chad Sonkin. Nice to meet you. Wow. And like how long of a way that went.
Yeah, truly. Like that went such a long way. And it was because like, you know, I realized like that by being vulnerable, and that by being scared or nervous and doing it anyway became like I started on the other side of that I was getting blessings, like job opportunities, connections that you couldn't imagine. But it took the vulnerability of like for like people, like other people knowing if that I failed at this, or that I applied for a job, didn't get it, or you know, going knocking on the door of the CEO, and then maybe like the assistant slams it in your face, right? It's like that's about bouncing back, like but it takes a level of he mentioned I was a champion of it because I was just like, let's practice this. Like, what do I have to lose? That's why I've always bought in, like spiritually, or like it always just made sense to me because what is thinking about it the other way? Yeah. You know what I mean? Totally. Like it never made sense to me. It's like to think the other way. It was just like, no, I'm going to buy into this because
act as if
like, you know, TBC, like all of these things, like it's spiritually, like my vibe was always just like, I'm going to buy into this because the other way is this like, ew.
And you know what you're getting. You know what you're getting the other way, and you can always go back.
Exactly.
Like, that's the default.
Exactly.
So like, what is possible if anything's possible? I said that earlier, and that was something we explored on the winter retreat this winter as well, of just like, what's possible if anything's possible, truly. I mean, what a question to ask yourself and to think about, like, what is possible if anything's possible? It's absolutely wild. I love what you're saying about vulnerability too, and I think that part of that translation as well, in terms of the competitive nature, this mental toughness is treating that like a muscle. That's a muscle that you strengthen, like any muscle in the gym. You're strengthening. You got to build out, you got to tear down the fibers so they can build back. It's painful, it's uncomfortable, but on the other side of that, you experience the growth. So this is why cold immersion has been a life changer for me, and such a it's a relic for what that represents. It's a training, it's a practice arena for what that represents. Getting into the cold, leaning into that vulnerability, into that conscious suffering, that hormetic stress. We know physiologically what that does for your body. It does all the most amazing things. We know how it lights up your dopamine, it lights up your adrenaline. Your body craves that push, craves that striving for something. So that's a lot of what we bring, and I think is important to bring towards the spiritual community as well, because that, like, the most spiritual moments I've had are when I'm in that outside of my comfort zone, in that edge. That's why we named it Edge Theory Labs. The whole thesis of Edge Theory is that greatness happens at the edge of your comfort zone. That's how you know, that's how you define. Those are the opportunities where you meet yourself, and those are the opportunities you get to define yourself. And that's the magic.
That's the magic. God.
He's gonna explode. I absolutely love all of that, and I think I totally agree. And the thing that's so interesting to me is that I feel like so much of the spirituality space has turned into everybody just being really comfortable. Like, path of least resistance is not path of no resistance. And I think we're walking a kind of a fine line there. And I have honestly been, I'm so glad with everything you guys just said, because it was like connecting so many dots of things that I have been thinking about a lot in the last month or so, and talking about a lot in other episodes as well. But I feel like this tied this all in together, because I've been saying, like, the more I think about this, I think the problem is a divine masculine deficiency. Like, I actually think that's the issue. And everybody's been doing so much work to lean into their feminine, but like, you can't manifest without your divine masculine. And people ask questions like, you know, and I will anchor in from the things that I hear a lot in my community, which is primarily like women, the larger audience. And it's a lot of like, well, how do I trust myself? Well, I don't know if I believe it, you know, or that's, I feel too uncomfortable and I'm supposed to be following like with the ease and the joy. And I'm like, I think we're getting some things confused here. And I think a lot about like being in the entrepreneurship space and meeting all of these incredible business owners and seeing how they live their lives and what they've created. And obviously there can be a lot of like toxic masculine energy in there. But I think about the people I know well and who I'm seeing like successful, like what I believe is successful, like emotionally, spiritually, like, yeah, financially, but like you're living your mission, like you're actually bringing it to fruition. And then all these people in the spiritual space who are like, they're talking about these concepts, but not actually creating anything. And I'm like, these people over here are way better at manifesting than you guys.
Right.
And like, what's missing? It is your divine masculine, you know? And it's like everything you're saying about mental toughness, to me, as you're piecing that together, I'm like, that is like, how do I trust myself? Like, how do I trust God? It's like, because every time I put myself in an uncomfortable position, like I'm back on my feet. And you learn that. But like, for me, that's never been, again, in my comfort zone, or like I don't really think about it, path of least resistance in my daily life. I'm like, what do I desire? And like, that's going to happen.
Wow, that's so powerful. And like path of least resistance could also mean like in the path of least resistance, like you could still experience challenges. But like I said, like I'm mentally tough. I set the tone already today. So like the path of least resistance was me getting up in the morning, doing the cold tub, hitting the workout, feeling really good, feeling inspired, feeling vibrationally high. And that's the path of least resistance. That doesn't mean like I'm not gonna have challenges or have adversity and that every second is gonna feel amazing. Like, you need to feel sad or difficult or challenged.
All the emotions.
You have to go through every emotion, right? This is something we like to say. Like, we have to go through every emotion to get where you want to go. Like every single emotion, like anger is good, sadness is good, happiness is good, all of it's good, but it's all about how quick can you get back to like you, right? So path of least resistance doesn't mean like no challenges. If there was no challenge, there'd be no glory. If there was no challenge, there'd be no growth. If there's no challenge, there'd be no success.
There'd be no audience.
There'd be no audience. There'd be no story.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm bored then.
Yeah.
I'm not tuning in. Like.
But how do you balance that? How do you know this is like the challenge for my growth and I'm still in alignment versus like I'm hitting an obstacle and I'm trying to get detoured?
It's a great question. Here's something that I've learned, which is in life, we either choose the challenges that inspire us, or life will bring us challenges regardless. Nobody's exempt from the challenges. But what I found is when I can consciously choose challenges that inspire me and that I feel pulled towards, then those challenges I'm going into willingly and consciously, hormetically on a physiological level, if you're talking about the ice bath or sauna, whatever, right? This is all metaphor, but I'm choosing those challenges consciously. I'm inspired by that. That's that divine calling. That is that is the flow. So choose the challenges. Otherwise, if you don't choose the challenges, guess what? Life's going to bring you the challenges very quickly. And even in the theme of like, we don't like, everybody wants to be comfort and flow, but think about it. How long can you sit on the couch before that becomes a challenge? Maybe a few hours, maybe a day, maybe 2 days. After 2 days of sitting on the couch, you become stagnant. So comfort's not the goal. Like that becomes a challenge in and of itself. So I would say for me, I've found that delineation by constantly choosing challenges that inspire me, whether that's on a career level of like, okay, this is challenging. And instead of quitting, I'm going to lean in a little bit more because I'm inspired by what this is doing or the outcome of this, or I'm inspired by who this is forging me to become, or by the skill set that I can develop here. I wanted to leave sales when I was first into sales. It was really challenging, but I had the perspective of this is a really good thing for me to go through right now because of who it can make me become and the skills that I can build from it. So I weathered that storm and got through that until it made it easy to go on to the next thing. It's like, follow that inspiration and the challenge that inspire you. And then on a micro level as well, of doing an Ironman triathlon or climbing a mountain, like choosing those challenges, learning a language, doing something out of your comfort zone as well, supplementing those things, because those challenges can be inspiring as well.
Yes. Nailed it. And like, you could first, like, that was such a great question. And it's like, sometimes you do have to adjust your sail to the wind, right? Like truly. And I'll say it in a way of this, like when I first moved out to LA, as we were talking about, like my dream was to work in sports, right? Like truly through and through. Like I felt like, so when I was interning and working at the sports agency and then I didn't get the job, I was like, I got to find something else in sports. And I couldn't. I wasn't. Instead, I found this bird scooter startup company. And instead of being like, oh, this doesn't feel good, like I found ways to feel good about it. It's like startup where my energy could be feeling good. And that job in the startup space landed me to a job in sales, which later led to another job in the startup space in sales, which then led me to like when Edge launched, like, thank God I had been in sales for all those years. Yeah. But if I would have been like, no, I got to be sports, like, who knows? I may be an agent right now when he was ready to launch Edge. And like, there was no path for us to work together. And it's like, so it's like, sometimes you need to like adjust your sail to the wind a little bit and just feel good about, like, ask God for not a miracle, but a miracle being a different perspective. Like, and sometimes you do have to embrace the suck. Like, you have to do things in this world that you don't want to do. So like, feel good about that. Yeah. Like, that's the thing. Like, here's the thing at the end of the day is like, why I know like why some people are different than me is because like I could do the shittiest job in the world and like feel really good about it.
How
like,
do you do that?
I could clean the fucking toilets and feel good about it. And how I do it is like, I'd have 2 AirPods in my ear. I'd be listening to podcasts. I'd be having fun. I'd be listening to great music. Like, I can embrace the suck better than you can. It's like, and so my challenge, like my ask would be like, feel good about it. If learning what you hate or being where you don't want to be, like, can be the most beautiful thing ever, because that leads to going where you need to go. It's not about, it's success or like happiness almost isn't about like winning and doing good. It's about like avoiding the bad and it's like almost like hanging in there long enough, right? It's like hanging in there long enough, it becomes inevitable. Yeah. Right? And it's a constant work in progress. So like, to your question is like, how do you know, what do you do in those moments that don't feel good? Like, you got to embrace the suck, or you got to find ways to feel good about them.
And I would say too, like in those acute moments, probably a very tactical, it's a great question. It's got me really thinking. Yeah. A tactical thing. There's two things I might offer. One is give yourself 2 weeks, because there's ebbs and flows, and sometimes the wind's in your face, but then the wind shifts. And I think it's so much of us quit or change course right before the wind's about to shift again. So I would say give yourself 2 weeks, because in 2 weeks, however this challenge might feel present, you'll see another perspective to it, and you might be like, oh, cool, I'm happy I hung in there. So oftentimes that's helpful for me. Again, expand that time horizon, because growth, when you're in it, you feel the jagged edge of every single curve. Like, you see how jagged the growth is. But when you zoom out and expand the time horizon, it's the smooth curve. But in the micro, right? It's like,
we're so in sync.
It's just super jagged. And I would say that that's really important to like give yourself the benefit of time. If you're in a challenging situation, you're like, maybe this isn't for me, hold on for a little bit longer, a week, 2 weeks, because there's a good chance that it will shift. But if not, and there's a long enough time that it doesn't shift, then maybe it's time to take that next step. Yeah. That's the first thing. The second thing I'd offer, and this helps me as well, it may be helpful for some people, may not be, but a question I like to ask myself is, if I really loved myself, what would I do? And I take that question for me. When I ask myself that question, it cuts through all the noise. It goes right to my intuition. It goes right to my heart space. If I'm feeling like, oh, I feel like I might want an off day today from training, or I feel like I should leave this job, if I really love myself, what would I do? It cuts through the noise, because if I really love myself, in some cases, it's I would give myself the gift of going through and persevering. I would see this thing through. I would get up and go through it anyway. I would just go through the motion. I would get up and go to the gym anyway. But sometimes if I really love myself, I would actually take a rest day. I would give myself that chance to rest and to recover. Or if I really love myself, I would remove myself from this situation. So that can be a helpful question to get the guidance from yourself, or ask God for it. Like when I pray every morning, I ask God to give me the clarity and make it abundantly clear and show me the signs, and my spirit squad, my angels that are all around and chilling with us right now. Like, please show me the way, like give me the signs, give me the clarity, and make it abundantly clear. And then that sharpens that intuition.
I love that. Do you want to add to that?
That was so good.
Well, I was going to ask, and I don't know if what he shared affects your reflection, but in that moment where you're trying to get a job in sports and it's not working, and you're like, okay, let me go with Bird Scooters here. How did you know that was like the aligned move for you? Like how do you know when it's time to like, hey, no, let me just hold on, versus no, let's change course a little bit.
Yeah. I didn't.
Yeah.
I just had faith. I just knew what I just knew but I did have faith in myself and what I wanted. And I knew that like whatever it was, like I would take away something from this experience that would propel me back into sports or back into the field I wanted to go. That was the thing.
Big. That's big right there.
You don't need to know I could see the step in front of me.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was the only step that really mattered at that point. It's like, sometimes you're just fighting for every second, right? Like, it's a game of inches, right? Like I just needed to see the next step, and then the next step, and then the next, and then slowly but surely, like that path. But it wasn't like I didn't go into Bird like, oh, I'm so sad. This is not where I wanted to be. Like, fuck, I want to be in sports. I can't believe I'm here. I went into Bird like, I'm going to go introduce myself to the CEO on the first day, let him know who I work for. I'm going to connect with every single person in this company who might know somebody in sports. I'm going to see if I can get in the partnerships team. Like, it was instantly like, I'm going to use this as a stepping stone. Yeah. Like, this is going to like launch. And like, you know what I mean?
I think there's an important detail that's worth sharing in all of this. So Chad became really great friends with the cafeteria lady, the lunch lady there. And we were, we lived about a mile, not even a mile, like half a mile away, of course.
3-4 blocks.
3-4 blocks away. So he was able to walk it. Because in the beginning, when we first moved out to LA, like, mind you, Chad moved out to LA without a job lined up. He'd never been to the place where we were living. And what was the mattress thing? Like,
they called me and like said, oh, we dropped your mattress off. Like, which building is it? And I was like, I have no idea which building.
I'm not
there yet.
So he moved out, got a job, got a job at Lululemon at the 3rd Street Promenade to just like make some income, and worked an internship driving the bus every day. And like, I'm pretty much guessing like when you're driving that bus, like you're embracing that. And you're like listening to the music, and you're like, all right, this makes a story that much better.
I knew.
Yeah. But long way of saying that when Chad got to Bird and it was right down, of course, it was like he could walk there, and he became friends. He became well known there to the point where the lunch, I don't call her lunch lady. What was her name? Tess.
God bless you, Tess.
So she started giving, because they had a lot of leftovers. So she would give Chad leftovers to bring home for him and for us.
She knew I had
roommates. So we had free food, abundance of fruit.
I didn't pay for groceries for 2 years. Seriously.
So,
my God.
No, and it got to the point where Chad had to stop walking, and he would have to call me because I would pick him up, because Tess was loading us up with trays. Like, we graduated to full loads of bread. I knew that was when it was like, all right. But that's like also, I think that there's such a lesson there too, where you show up and you're nice to someone, you bring the energy, then good things happen as a result, and people are magnetized to that. So we collectively saved thousands of dollars on groceries for over the course of years because of that experience of going in and being like, cool, I'm gonna make the most of this, and not like, oh, pity, sorry me.
Well, and you can get provided for in all kinds of ways that you wouldn't expect. It's funny that you say that, because I don't know if you know that, like, I was a food blogger when I first got into all of this.
No, I did not know that.
And
that's
I think about like, what? Like, why? But the thing is that everybody asked me like, how did you afford, like, the way I lived when I lived in LA? I'm like 20, I'm 20 years old, and I was like living a very abundant lifestyle, and I had no money, and I was like $100,000 in debt with medical bills. You have to understand, right? Because I was going through all my really intense health issues, and I'm like, thank God for food blogging, because I didn't pay for food for like 4 years, because I got all my groceries paid for. as I worked with different companies that like provided groceries, and then every restaurant I went to, I ate for free as long as they did a post about it.
Checks out.
So like and I was like, and I think about it now and I'm like, thank you. Like I didn't have to pay for food for so long. So
at that moment, like, did you know what was next? At that moment, like, how did you?
What do you mean by next? Like
when you're 20 years old, food blogging, right? Like, did you think like I'm gonna do this forever, or did you think like there's something?
No, I mean, when I was doing that, I definitely knew I was going to be in the health space. And like, that's like the first thing I did. And then after kind of like during, and then right after school, I went to nutrition school. So I did like one training program, like during college. And then right after I went to like full nutrition school, because I knew I wanted to be a nutritionist. So until then I was just working on food and like recipe developing and like blogging and going to all these amazing restaurants in LA. And like, I just went down that path because it was more of a hobby, you know? And it ended up, it didn't pay my bills, but it paid for my food, you know? No, like I wasn't planning on doing that for forever. It was just something I monetized that was fun for me. And then I got into nutrition and like, you know, everything I've done, cause it's been a path to where I'm at now, but I didn't know I was going to end up here. Like I would have, if you asked me this, you know, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I'd be like, no fucking way. Absolutely not. But I think that comes back to what I was going to say about what you said. Like, I only have to know my immediate next step. And I think that that's obviously such a simple reminder, but it's such a powerful one. And I think especially the older people get, because the older people get, like, even when you're not like old, you know, but people start to feel, I think about like even just approaching 30 and people are starting to feel this, like getting to 30, like, do I want to have kids? Like, what about a family? Like we start to feel these pressures with time, and you'll tell yourself like, oh, it's not a real thing, but you still like will feel that energy. And I think like going back to the dating thing, I think that's one of the big pieces people kind of blocks them with dating, where if you just remind yourself of that, I just need to know my next step. And people in dating are so set on who's the one. Who am I going to marry? Not realizing that maybe you need to date this person first, and that activates or opens up something or helps you learn a lesson where then you meet the next person. And like all those people are really important. I think dating is one of those places where people don't let themselves just focus on the next step because they're so focused on where's the end result, because I want to be there now. And I understand that desire, right? But like I think we need to remember that, like remind ourselves of that in every area of our lives, for sure.
That's such a great point. And I'm curious like to hear your guys' thoughts, because I think it is interesting that our whole life, you know, our whole life, especially when we're kids, it's like, what do I want to be when I grow up? Like, what school am I gonna go to?
What's my wife doing right now?
What's my wife doing right now? Like all these question marks, if you will, like kind of excite us. Like that's what we're driven by, is like those question marks. Where am I going to school? What am I going to be? Do I want to be a doctor? And then somewhere along the line, those question marks, if we don't have an answer, they turn into this like pressure. This like really, really like this pressure, this societal pressure. And to me, it's like, and I aim to remind myself of this always when I do get caught up in it, is like, hey, like be excited about those question marks, like be driven by those question marks. Like I still get, those are still things I get to fulfill. Like, and so I think rather than like not feeling good about those, if we could shift the perspective and feel good about them, now like
100%,
we're opening the door for some pretty beautiful manifestations.
100%. Well, I also think about like everything that I thought was going to happen when I got older, like when I was dreaming, like everything has come true, like, or is on path to coming true, you know? And I think that a lot of people along the way, they just don't trust what they know, you know, but like I knew. And I think most people didn't know. Like ask yourself, you know, what did I want to be when I was a kid? Or like, what did I imagine? And like, you know, you just intuitively connected. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. But
yeah. I feel like, back to the point, it's like, even though I'm not an NFL player, I still knew.
But like, what was the energy around that? Like,
it was that exact. That's what
exactly. You know?
Exactly. Like I knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought I was going to be an actress. I'm not an actress, but like the energy around it was correct. Like I was like, I'm going to be on stage. I'm going to be on video. I'm going to be a writer. I'm going to be, you know, the next JK Rowling. Like, no, we're not exactly on track. Like with that, but it's the energy around it. I knew, you know?
So what does that say? And what does that say too about like, your North Star. Like I'm a big believer in like you got to have a North Star, but not exactly like I need to own this house and have this, and more so like a North Star like feeling, like a feeling of a North Star. Do you know what I mean?
Like what is that for you?
Well, we talk about this all the time. Josh nails this, but like what that for me is like, 95 years old on a rocking chair, like with the most incredible stories to tell my grandkids. This beautiful old woman next to me, like abundance and money or whatever they want, and like lessons and scars and that feeling is my North Star. And for me, like that's inevitable. Like for me, it's like I have no doubt I will be there. So like the rest, I could just leave up to like the universe and God and my efforts, and like let the universe take care of itself. But Josh, do you have that? Because I took that. Like,
I love that. No, when people ask what I want to be when I grow up, it's like I'm still trying to figure it out. The one clarity I have is like I want to be the coolest grandpa ever. Yeah, that's what I want to be.
You will be.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And a lot of people are focused on building generational wealth, and yes, that's a goal of mine. But more so than building generational wealth, I'm driven to build generational wisdom and be able to pass along the wisdom of being a human being by being a driven, kind, faith-centered human being that's on a path of service for the greater good of humanity. And if I can leave that behind and the wisdom of my experiences behind, then I'll know that I've succeeded more than dollars and cents in the bank, like drive and common sense and critical thinking. And if I can leave those things behind, but I think that's the North Star. I think for me, I look at it on a very expanded timeline. I've said that many times, so you can kind of see how I always like to pull myself back, because at the end of the day, we're floating on the outer rim of a rock in space, and we're all inevitably gonna die. Like this life experience is gonna shift.
We'll check it out.
And that's a beautiful thing. I say that in a beautiful way. I'm just like, cool, and on to the next. But that always helps me as well. So when I think about my goal is to feel at the end of the day that I did the best that I could with all that I had. Yeah. And then like the quote we said earlier, hell is the definition of hell is meeting the person you could have became, is that I meet the person that I have become. And I'm like, damn. And even like David Goggins says this, like he wants to be so good that God, when he meets God, God's like, damn, you did that. like, whoa. Yeah. And that kind of energy of just knowing. And on a micro level, it's like, that's achievable to live every day. You know, when you hit your head, and that's how I always like to scale it down. It's like today, how can you live your day? How can you push your mind, your body, your spirit, your connection to hit your head at the pillow at the end of the day and feel sufficiently spent, not drained. There's a difference, not drained of your energy, but spent to where then a great night's sleep and your routine and your rhythm can bring you back up to that next level and go do it all again today, because then you experience a full life. So that's my North Star, is just to experience the fullness of it. And as I say that, it's like you get what you ask for. And so experience the fullness doesn't just mean the light, it means the darkness. It doesn't just mean the high vibe emotions and the fun and the joy and the great conversations. It means like learning these conversations, which means facing the challenge, which means feeling the burn and the fullness of it.
I totally agree. I think for me, it's like I always say full spectrum, you know, and it's like, can I live as many lifetimes in this one as possible? Like, and I was talking to some people I work with about this the other day. I was like, I hit this moment the other day where it was like I saw these very clear 3 timelines of like different careers I could have and where I'd be living, what I'd be doing, and I'd be equally as happy and successful and all that and all of them. And the first question was, well, what do I want to choose? Like I get to decide. And then I was like, but I could do all of them and maybe at the same time or one after the other. And like, that's the point. It's like the second I can see the potential, like I'm going to do it, you know? And that's really how I live my life. Like I get the vision and I'm like, it's like, I'm in the forest writing 10 books. So I'm like, great, book it. Like, that's just like how I do it. And I make it happen. And I just want to squeeze as many experiences out of it as possible, you know? And I think that so much of this is, you guys are a great example of this, like who you surround yourself with. Like my friends and I are always like, you know, do it for the plot twist. Like whatever the weirdest, whatever the weirdest, most random shit we can do. And I like being that person of, I want to be the most interesting person in the room. Like I always have a million stories to tell, like a million questions to ask. And like, it's, you know, what you guys were saying, like, I want to have all of these stories to tell when I'm older. And it's like, that's the point, like to actually live, you know, and that's the most spiritual thing you can do is live. live.
That's why you're our girl.
Come on.
That's why you're my girl,
Come on.
Christina. Let's go.
Come on, Christina. I love it.
Yeah.
So there's the North Star.
That's the North Star.
That was a great question.
Yeah.
That was a
great question.
So
Good job.
because you mentioned like when you see a potential, you know to just go for it.
Mhm.
Was that like a muscle that you earned to like trust by like seeing potential before and going for it and seeing like how did you learn to trust that, to like see that vision and then just go for it?
I think from a young age, I've just always been like that. Like, I just feel like, why would I see it if it's not supposed to happen? Like, I feel like it's like, hey, this is what's supposed to happen, so do it. Like, why would I just randomly get that vision, like a carrot dangling? Like, that's not, you know what I mean? I'm like, you know, if God gives me this, it's like, move. Right?
Yeah.
And so I move. And when I move, then great, completed that level. And then the next one opens up. And it's like, that's how I've created a really fast life for myself.
Yeah.
You know, it's because I think of time, people think of time as it's just going to pass. And I'm like, it's not about the passing of time that unlocks things. It's about how quickly do you take action. And when you take action, you like unlock this next vibrational level. And that's where suddenly I have just, you know, spent a month living 5 years.
Yeah.
And that's really how I expand time. It's like taking action and making it happen. And for me, it's just, what's the vision I'm getting and do it. And when I get the vision, I know it's possible. And if it's possible, then it can happen. And I'm shown it's possible because it's going to happen. And so I just, I think it's been experience. There's never been a vision I've gotten that I've taken action on that hasn't happened exactly as I saw it.
Yeah. That's why I feel like challenges and choosing challenges inspire you are so big, because you live lifetimes through that experience.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking about like the one day, like I during my Ironman, the full Ironman Triathlon, 16 hours it took me. It was nuts. It was stupid.
Wild.
It was nuts. And like it was funny because I had a friend, because I want to check my phone after I finished. So we started at like 6:30, got into the water, and I crossed the finish line at like 11:30 p.m. So 6:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m.
Wow.
Full day. And I had a friend text me. I saw him text message. He was like texting me throughout the day as he was following along, and he was like, I'm going to bed now.
Yeah.
And you started before I woke up, and now I'm going to sleep. I had a full day. Like I went grocery shopping, went to the gym, had a full day, and now you're still going by the time I go to sleep. That's nuts. And in my mind, it wasn't just a full day, but I lived like lifetimes through that day of all the different challenges and the mini moments. I lived lifetimes. The same thing that's why I love mountain climbing, because you're on the mountain for maybe even if it's 3, 4, or 5 days. Every single day, you are living so many different lives. And so think about this is for people that want to experience more life. Like, what's something that you can do? Our retreats is a great example of this too. What's something you can, people are always, it's tripped out by day 3. It feels like, I mean, Tyler, you remember that at Jackson Hole. It's like by day 3, it felt like we've been with each other for weeks.
Yeah.
It's like you can totally bend time in those ways. Wow. And I think that challenges are the glue somehow, and experiencing new things are the glue that allows that bending to happen. And if you think about it on a practical level, if you can add 3 trips throughout the year, or even 2 trips throughout the year that can bend time in that certain way, or 3 experiences throughout the year that can bend time that certain way, that one day feels like a week or 3 days feels like a month, you're now getting, instead of 12 months a year, you're getting 20 months in a year.
100%.
You're getting, that's how you're literally living 5 lifetimes in 1 month, because you're doing these different things.
Yeah. And I have realized like that's how, I don't know if you guys are the same way, but I'm like, that's how I live like my everyday. And it's such a weird time warp. Like I'm like, one day has passed and I feel like it's been a year. Like that's how much has occurred.
You're thinking back, it's those days, and we know this as kids. I always remember this as a kid. You're like summer camp, or you're like, whoa, was that today or was that yesterday? Like when was it? I was like, oh, that was this morning. Like that, or that was yesterday morning. Like whoa, and that's also part of my North Star is to live life that way, where it's like, whoa, you're experiencing the fullness of what this planet has to offer.
Oh, totally. Well, so this is so random, but it came up while you were talking. Like I used to have this like time bending ability as a kid, which I still have, but it scared me as a kid. I don't know if either of you experienced this, but I would basically be able to slow everything down around me. And so if I was talking to my parents, they'd suddenly be in slow motion. Like, hi, Christy. Like, and everything was slow. And I would watch like everyone around me in slow motion. I was like, what the fuck? I used to try and I would get really scared because I was really little. And I would tell my mom, I'd say, like you're hyperspeed, or like I'm hyperspeed. I'm outside of time, and I'd be trying to explain it to her.
God bless your mother.
Yeah, it was like, and I felt so insane. And do you remember the movie? I think it was called like Time Stopper.
That's what I was
with the watch, right?
And that movie is literally exactly what my life was like as a kid. And I think because I had so many crazy, like, and I would also do the same thing with space. Like I would expand the room. It was the wildest shit, but
makes sense.
Yeah, I'm pretty on brand. So, but I think as an adult, like remembering like that very real experience, I'm like, that is possible. Like I lived that and I wasn't even trying. So if I'm trying, like how can I use that to my advantage? And I'm able to use that now. Like I can turn everything slower. And so I'm really fast. I'm really the same, but I feel like I'm really fast. And that's how the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Like
5 books.
Here we are. Yeah. You know, and I think about when I channel these, it's like, yeah, I sit down and it's one stop, but like it actually doesn't logically make sense how I can write 90,000 words in the span of, it's really only like 8 hours.
That's nuts.
Unbelievable.
That's, like, and I'm like the only,
how can you type
way.
That?
That's unbelievable.
No, really, like my typing rate isn't that fast.
I can't even say that many words in 8 hours.
I know. So it's like, it's a very real thing, you know? And I think that is why a lot of people, you know, people ask, how do I expand time? And it's like, now I'm connecting, like literally get uncomfortable.
Get uncomfortable, seek challenges.
Yes. Like get uncomfortable. I mean, every time I channel a book, that it's very vulnerable for me. It's very uncomfortable. Like channeling is not comfortable. And like as a channel, you're like, you know, it's been who knows how long. It goes both ways, right? It's been 2 hours and you think it's been 5 minutes, or it's been 5 minutes and you think it's been 5 hours. Like,
and this is when you're like Christina stepping aside and you're like opening yourself up as a vessel for someone to come through. Right. And the Oracle right now, Oracle is
all of them. I got all kinds of them.
All kinds of them.
Yeah, but it's like this very bizarre thing. I think like for me, I mean, it's not bizarre.
What is it? Yeah, what is that like?
Yeah, what is that? Tell me more.
Well, what do you mean by what is it like?
Like, do you feel like you have to like, are you like sacrificing? Not like sacrificing yourself?
It's going to
like,
sacrifice
yourself.
No, I'm not sacrificing myself. It feels honestly easier than being here.
Oh yeah, that's
interesting.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
It feels a lot easier than being here, and it feels like my whole vessel is just filled with divine love, like pure source, right? Because it's this higher consciousness coming into my body, and that is, incredible for my body, but it's very bizarre because I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth, and I'm not in control of what comes out of my mouth.
Yeah, and so it's like Christina's over here, like she's just stepped aside.
Sometimes I'm out in another dimension and it looks like the Windows XP like home screen, like screensaver.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm watching. So sometimes I'm on the other side, like I'm watching. I'm on the other side of the room and I'm watching. Yeah.
Is this something that we all have the innate ability to hone in and do, or no?
It's a good question. I believe so. However, I don't think it's really necessary.
Right, everybody
or
should
like the
or needs
path.
to.
I think
totally.
Like with most things, anyone can, but like it's not necessarily the path. And like this has been a big conversation with the team. Like the thing about channeling that's so interesting for me, like for me, I feel like my ability to do this is really just to show people what's possible and kind of like to prove the point. Like you're a soul in a vessel, and what that looks like and what that means. I think people have gotten really weirdly like obsessed with channeling, and I'm like, what's the point? Like, why do you need another energy in you? Like, why do you need that? Right? Like, because at the end of the day, like all I need is me and God, like me and source. Like that's all. Like, and if I'm looking for answers or guidance, that's all I got to tap into. Like the channeling is a big piece of who I am, but it's because part of the mission is just exemplifying to people like you're a soul in a body. It's not for the point of like channeling another being is any better. It's not. It's like it's not at all. Like this is just for you to understand kind of what it means to have a vessel, right? But at the end of the day, like for our own, like in my opinion, for our own spiritual awareness and understanding who we are and like our own divinity, our connection with source, like it's just about us and God, us and source. Like that's all you need, and that's where you can get all the information you need. And then I think there are people whose life path, like I'm one, as we all have our own things we're here to exemplify and show, like some of us channel to kind of just expand people's minds about like, what does that really mean that you're a soul in a vessel? Because I think that's the other piece that people don't really get. It's like your body Like you chose this spaceship, like you chose this body for a reason. You have a contract with this body. This body like has its own consciousness, you know? And so for me, like with all my health issues, it's been a lot about that relationship of like, I have to talk to my vessel. I can't control my vessel. We're not the same. And for so long, I treated it like it was the same. Like, I'm controlling you. Why are you not telling, like, why are you not listening to me? And I think there's that fine line where we learn, hey, my brain tells my body what to do. And I have found techniques like neural reprogramming to be such an important part of my healing journey. But there was a point where I started to realize it was me assuming I could control my body. And there's my soul consciousness and there's my vessel consciousness. And when I started to talk to my body, like, hey, what do you want? Hey, what do you need? Which might have been different than what my soul wanted, because we're collaborating, we're business partners, we're romantic partners, like everything, right? And when you have a partnership, you're not telling someone what to do. You're not forcing your body to heal. You're saying, what do you need? Like, how can I support you? Right? How can we compromise? How can I work with you? Like, that's how you co-pilot.
That's how you co-pilot.
And I think that's a big piece that people miss, where it's like, yeah, that's all we really need. But sometimes we forget that this isn't all, like, it is all the same thing, but it's not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I do. And for me, breath work was the first thing that opened up that channel for me, which was realizing before it's a one-way street, right? My body, I tell my body what to do. My body moves, right?
Exactly.
It's a one-way street. And then after doing an hour and a half of this deep breathing exercise and having my body work these emotions out and feeling the sights of my scars and my surgeries and the trauma that was still holding on to finally release and feeling what that did for my body, it was like, oh, body, I'm so sorry. I love you. Thank you. You've been through so much. And then that opened up the other direction. Now it's a bi-directional road. It's a two-way street where it's like my body is giving me information and wisdom, body wisdom. It's giving me insights as well to tune into as I'm giving my body information and insights. And so it's this idea of this two-way street. And that opened up so much for me. So I love what you're saying there about us being souls in a vessel. That's powerful. And I feel like you do a really, really, really great job on all of your work of showcasing that. Like,
Thank you.
That feels like very much why you're here and why you're needed to remind people of that.
Yeah. And I mean, I think like everything I've been through, it's like it came full circle. And for me, like thinking about living in gratitude, like that's not just about me saying I'm grateful for this. It's like, it's an embodied gratitude of, because that has been a huge part of my own healing journey, but my relationship with myself, of everything that you were saying, like just total breakdown. Like, I'm so grateful for how much you have fought for me. You know, like there have been so many things I've been through. Like there's been so many times I have almost died, and like my vessel has stood up for me and like fought so fucking hard for me. And I'm in awe. Like I'm literally in awe of how she has done that for me and is so strong, you know, and has like held me through everything I've been through and still has not crashed. You know, it's like, holy shit. Like, that is true, deep, like gratitude I live with every single day. And for me, that's a big part of my self-love and like how I show up for myself. Like, I'm going to show up for you the same way you show up for me. Like, it's not this motivation, right? Of like my health practices or how, like what I eat and like how I move, like, and all the, you know, healing things I get and my massages. It's
practices.
Like, that is like, you have fought so hard for me and showed up for me all the way through. Like it's the least I can fucking do.
That's,
you know,
that's fire. That's so powerful. That's such a dynamite perspective. That is unbelievable, actually. Like, because like when you choose that, like we were saying earlier, like this isn't about us, right? Like I'm doing this for him, like I'm doing this for him, you're doing it for her. Like you're so like that relationship, that co-pilot. The sky is the limit, you know, like seriously. And that just like is ringing bells for me in my head right now, like on someone who probably personally needs to like be a little bit more grateful for this vessel that, you know, like in the way you just said it, like that's so beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I mean, it's the gift of like health problems, you know. I'm like grateful that happened from a young age, right?
Yeah, we
like,
share that.
100%.
For sure.
It really shifts everything in so many ways. And I think that like goes along with going back to North Star, like, hey, like who am I doing this for? And it was never like about me, right? But it's like, hey, this is for you. This is for like the oneness, like my people who I love. Like this is about something bigger than, it's about the mission.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's where it's like, if I'm delivered the vision and like the vision needs to get grounded, that's my divine responsibility to ground it. Like my own bullshit or my limiting beliefs or somebody else, no, it's like I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I have a mission from God. Like stop.
Yeah. Like seriously.
Right? Like it really is that simple. And I think for me, it's been like all of my spiritual experiences and then my physical experiences that have helped me tune out the noise, where like none of that bothers me, you know? And so I guess that was my avenue to mental toughness.
Yeah.
Right. Where it's
exactly.
like, it was a total breakdown and like a vulnerability that like led me there. You know, I think that's the other important piece. Like that doesn't have to be some like, I don't know, like the energy behind fighting, like there's a healthy energy to it, like a healthy fight, you know? And I think when people think about like toughness, it's like a forcing, or I'm like, it could be like a bypassing, and it's not that. Like it's a genuine, like it's truth of I have stood up for myself every time, like my body, source, whatever it is, you know, and it always works out. And so I know that. And so the toughness is really just, it's beyond trust. It's a knowing.
You shared that with me, I mean, maybe a couple of years ago now at this point of shift, because I was asking you, just like, how do you have faith? Like, how do you have faith when it's really tough? And you said something that rocked my world, which is like, you got to move beyond faith and move into knowing. It's like, it's not about like building the belief and trying to work yourself up to, but you have to have that knowing and build that knowing, which is in your bones, which feels very, very different. Yeah.
And that is like, I mean, that's the most powerful. Like, I'm reading the book right now. Well, now I'm spacing on the name, Napoleon Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich. And he talks about like, it's just that faith, but more so is it the faith, it's the knowing. It's an inevitability. Like true, like when you have that type of knowing, then it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, we say that all the time, just inevitability. Like it is inevitable. Just, that word, I love that.
I love that
it's
word.
Inevitable.
Same.
Because like then you just got to focus on like showing up and feeling good and like doing it for him and doing it for the people around you and being inspired, and if you could do that and show up and feel good, then the rest takes care of
itself.
100%. 100%.
There's relief in that.
Wow, you guys are electric.
Yeah, you're electric.
Takes one to know one.
Yeah.
So what's next? What's the next inevitable occurrence?
We're gonna speak it out loud right now, because this has been part of the dream. It really, even since we were young as well, but now it feels an inevitable next step. But continuing to step in and share more of this and share more of this electricity with other people, light people up in that way. Chad and I have I think in college we probably had this dream of somehow, we don't know how or what it's gonna look like, but selling out Staples Center and
100%.
and like being on stage and lighting people
sell
up.
Out
okay, let's do it. You're gonna be up there for sure.
Yeah,
and then like just getting up there, lighting people up, and then like I just want to flip the mic to my boy number 19, Chad Sonkin. Yo, here's 19 for y'all. Flip the mic to him, walk off stage, and then just there's something around that energy about more like in-person activation in that way. I know, and you're doing that in a big way. Stoked for the San Diego event coming up. But that's a big next step, I think, in terms of like that next daydream level, and it's gonna be fun looking back to this when we do sell out Staples Center, Crypto Arena, whatever it is now, but it's gonna be Staples Center. And that, I would say, from a macro level for me, that's definitely what's next, and really stepping into it and sharing more of that, and also being more bold in that sharing and being more potentially controversial.
I would love to see that from you.
Okay, thank you.
We're gonna I feel like security. You're already controversial, so it's fine.
Is it the red hair? No, all right. Yeah, I appreciate it.
I just feel like you could say anything. Like, people aren't even really listening to what you're saying. They're just like in your vortex. Like,
it's true.
It's true.
Yeah. So okay, I'll take that as feedback, and I will start to be more controversial for sure. And then I would say, from a business standpoint, at Edge Theory Labs, what a beautiful mission that we're on right now, and group of people that we have around what we're doing. So for us right now, this next evolution is the business is evolving in a very big way. And by the end of this year, the business is going to look a lot different than it does right now, which is exciting. And there's certain things that we're bringing to fruition right now, and projects and initiatives we've been working on for seemingly years that are going to be shared with the world. And that's really exciting, but it's really stepping into this energy of being more than just a tub. And what does that mean? Like, yes, we bring that energy. We are more than just a tub, but what does that actually mean and look like? So that's what's next in terms of the business side of things, of being more than just one product and one specific modality. And beyond that is, I think, sharing more throughout that process, because we're like the day-to-day and the ins and outs and the jagged edges of growth, like sharing that more, highlighting that more, bringing people into that more in more real time, more content around that, more sharing about that, because that way people can feel like they're along for the journey as well. So that's also, I feel like, next in my reality.
100%. Yeah.
What about you?
Retweet. No, but like, like truly, like being on stage at that level, like that's inevitable. Like, and for sure, a big thing for us that we're embarking on, like, is sharing more, is storytelling is more. It's I think it's really easy for people to like look at and be like, think it's all sunshines and rainbows, where really like they don't see the challenges, like the tough moments, the difficult decisions, and things like that. So I think for us in this next chapter, for the business in the next chapter, it's going to be it's going to be storytelling and less of relating to people. Like, we're not relating to people, but inspiring people. And that's how we're gonna become iconic in that way, you know?
You are iconic.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I love that. I'm happy to support that. I feel you guys should do a lot more of this.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Thanks for the feedback.
And I had all kinds of things I wanted to talk to you guys about. I just didn't know what we'd have time for. So I definitely want to have you back.
Great.
Because I have more questions.
Great.
We'd be on.
And I think Chad has more questions for me.
I have so many questions for you. I want to reverse this table. So
Anytime you want. So just tell us about the app.
Yeah.
That's the new.
Yeah, the new is launching the Edge app.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about this because it's going to give people an entry point into these practices, right? Like, I feel like so much of what we're talking about here, it's like, it's all about the lifestyle. It's integrating certain tools and support into your lifestyle and practices into your lifestyle that help you embody these and help you hang on to that dream and live that dream. So we do that naturally. And everybody at our company, like, we live what we call like the legends lifestyle, this lifestyle that allows you to be legendary and feel legendary. And it's about learning how to regulate yourself, give yourself what you need, regulate your nervous system, understand, skillfully steer your state of being. Like Chad was saying earlier, I'm setting the tone up here. I'm not a thermometer that's just going up and down with the temperature. I'm a thermostat. I'm setting the temperature. So this is a tool. The Edge app is a tool to help you do just that. And so we're going to have amazing resources across real learning and education, because there's so much blind spots in pop culture right now. Ice bath, sauna, breath work. Like, there's a lot of questions around it. And there's also a lot of blind spots, a lot of things that people don't understand. So this is going to be educating people on that in some really amazing ways and digestible ways that are super science backed. We've developed with world-renowned physiologists, psychologists, neuroscientists to really develop and give this in a really digestible way. So there's going to be education on learning about these practices like cold immersion, like breath work. And then there's also going to be guided sessions so that you can plug Coach Chad in your ear and have him guide you through your morning ice bath, or hear from Coach Rachel guiding you through a menstrual cycle ice bath session. So like all the range and spectrum of different ways that you can engage with the stimulus that is cold immersion, that is sauna, that is breathing. So you can go on these journeys in that way. So that's the second big key piece. And then the third is doing it together in community, because it takes a tribe, it takes a team. So having virtual, we have all the time, we're leading different weekly group calls for group cold immersions. We got people all over the country getting another ice bath at the same time. You got people breathing together, led by our experts. You got people doing Q&A and coming together to talk about these different things. So it's a space to get those 3 things in a really punchy way that's going to be very, very, very accessible for people to start to dabble on this. And anybody that might be like, as we say, cold curious or like curious about the cold, like I'm curious about this lifestyle, to where we can grab your hand and be like, okay, we're going to teach you and we're going to hold your hand through this. And we're going to show you the benefits that all of these practices can lead you to realizing. As Sam Whiting, our director of performance and brother, says, the whole is the goal. It's about using these practices to create and experience that wholeness of who you really are. So excited to bring this out to the world.
Love that. I can't wait to use it. I'll certainly use it for my morning ritual, because I'm an edge girl.
Yeah, you are. You're a legend through and through. You are.
I love it. It's like my favorite part of my morning routine. Really.
Amazing.
Yeah. I like really, it really changes your whole day, you know? And like, I didn't realize just how much until I started doing it every day. Like it's just a simple thing of like, you know, I don't want to get into cold water, and I do, and then afterwards I'm like, I can do fucking anything.
I can do anything. That's
literally anything.
That's downstream.
So,
it
really works.
Yeah,
so I love it.
Yeah.
So I love it. So how do they sign up for the app?
The link.
Okay, we'll put a link. We'll put all the links in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll get, and everybody who's listening to this, you'll get a premium free trial as well through you. So
great.
Get free trial so you can access everything. And join in, like come do the session, come jump in, come join us like on Zoom as we're doing these sessions. Like we're building a movement here.
Yeah,
you know,
it is.
And we really are, and so we want you to be part of it. Like come join, come jump into cold water with us. Whether you have a cold shower, whether you're just gonna do some breathing, doesn't matter. Like come taste some of these practices that have changed all of our lives here. That's what it's about.
Well, everyone's gonna want to hang out with you after
Let's
this.
go.
Well, this was amazing.
Thank you
for
having us.
Very grateful for both of you. All of your work on this planet. I appreciate you. And you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you. Love you so much.
Love
seriously. Like,
grateful for you.
How lucky are we?
Yeah,
like how lucky, like truly, I mean, I don't want to get all sentimental here, but like when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and like you appeared at just the absolute perfect time for me personally, and then for everything else,
me personally,
and for Chad as well. And then like to become like, to consider you a very close friend in this lifetime, beyond just someone that can like check me, you know, which is important.
She can check
the shit out of me, you know what I mean? Which is great. But like, I just thank you for what you're doing, and I'm just so excited. Like we're doing it all together. We're gonna do this Staples Center done.
100%.
We're gonna be all old people at 110, like on the rocking chair, but still like I'm still kicking your ass in one-on-one at that age.
He's
I think it will happen. I think that our paths are like gonna cross in weird ways as we get older too, you know?
No doubt.
So
no doubt. It's
you heard it here
inevitable,
first.
So let's just keep feeling good.
Inevitable. Love it. Thank you guys.
Thank you.